The anime begins with Peter, a man who is feeling upset because of his incredible strength. Ever since he became the strongest man on Earth, he has not been able to win any competitions. The reason behind his consistent losses is that all of his challengers are women from different races. In an interesting twist, these women are not aiming to defeat Peter, rather, they are seeking to have a child with his exceptional genes. Despite his tremendous strength, Peter struggles to resist the temptation of women with attractive bodies. Will Peter can hold back, or will those women will achieve their goal? Let's see what's going to happen. So, the story begins with a tournament. This is the most crucial competition in the world, where the winner is recognized as the strongest man in the world. Peter, representing the Brave Swordsman's Guild, emerges as the victor in the championship this time. After winning, Peter's only desire is to quickly leave the arena and join his beloved, Lovelia, so he can marry her. Right after his victory, Mimi, an ogress from the same guild, is the first to extend her congratulations to Peter. However, she shocks him with a strange request. She expresses her desire to bear children with him. This proposition terrifies Peter. Due to the ogre's reverence for strength, Mimi considers it reasonable to have a desire for the genetic traits of the strongest man in the world. Peter quickly rejects her proposal, explaining that in the human world, such a request necessitates an intimate relationship. Misinterpreting his words, Mimi suggests that they begin their relationship by sleeping together. Uncertain about how to react to Mimi, Peter turns to Mimi's sister, Lisa, for help in explaining the right approach to Mimi. Lisa harshly scolds Mimi, loudly declaring that, being the elder sister, she should have the privilege first to sleep with Peter and have his child before anyone else. Peter is unable to change their dirty mind and makes a hasty escape, but the girls pursue him relentlessly. It is only when he reaches the church where he and Lovelia plan to meet that he finally feels at ease. With folded hands, they express gratitude to God for bringing their love to fruition. Lovelia believes that the time has come to have a child, as it would symbolize their love. Her innocence leads her to believe that by sincerely praying to God, a stork will be sent to deliver a child to them. Peter's girlfriend lacks every knowledge about the relationships between men and women. Peter arrives home feeling irritated as he walks through the door. He's greeted with an unexpected surprise. Mimi and Lisa have taken their intrusion to a whole new level by trying to seduce him in every possible way. Despite his efforts to resist temptation, Peter's willpower crumbles when faced with heavenly melons of the ogresses. Overwhelmed by desire, he surrenders to temptation and spends the entire night engaging in actions that he will come to deeply regret. As the girls sleep soundly, Peter is left to confront the consequences of his choices, his heart heavy with remorse and tears of regret. Just as luck would have it, Lovelia's call him from outside the door. Despite their fury, he has no choice but to employ this tactic to avoid Lovelia uncovering his misstep. Lovelia couldn't help but wonder why Peter was drenched in sweat so early in the morning. Peter tells a fake story that he was in some intense exercise, but only we know that Peter, Mimi and Lisa were engaging in a vigorous game of hide the sausage. She brings Peter to the Brave Swordsman's Guild, where she plans to introduce him to her father, who happens to be the president of the guild. Due to his deep affection for his daughter, he has always been overprotective and prevented any man from getting close to her or pursuing a relationship with Peter. However, with Peter now being recognized as the strongest man in the world, he has no choice but to accept their engagement and arranges an evening feast to celebrate the occasion. Now Peter's happiness is short-lived, like a fleeting moment. As he sits alone in the restaurant, the ogresses suddenly appear and offer their congratulations on his engagement. Peter believes they have stopped pursuing him, but to his surprise, they return and request his seeds once more. They don't want to marry him, they simply want to have children with a powerful lineage. While the ogresses in heat try to remove Peter's pants, Lovelia suddenly enters the room. To hide the girls and protect his modesty, Peter quickly conceals the girls under the table and uses the tablecloth to cover his lower body. Fortunately, Lovelia remains unaware of the ogress's excited heat in the air. Nonetheless, Peter finds himself occupying the seat reserved for Lovelia's father. Just as he becomes aware of his mistake, Lovelia's father arrives and politely requests him to relinquish the seat. To save the situation, he resorts to the excuse that he desires to sit closer to Lovelia. This infuriates Lovelia's father, but with his daughter coming to Peter's defense, he is left with no option but to storm off, carrying his anger with him. However, Peter's troubles are far from resolved. The ogresses initiate their actions, continuously provoking the sausage under the table, leaving him in a state of extreme discomfort. At this moment, Lovelia's father becomes intoxicated, leaving Lovelia responsible for his well-being. Seizing this chance, the ogresses daringly provoke Peter, intentionally unsettling his nerves. As night falls, Peter finds himself unable to resist his desires once more. When morning arrives and sunlight fills the room, he deeply regrets his weak will and sighs in disappointment. He ponders why men always seem to regain their composure once the moment has passed, and realizes that he alone holds the key to finding the answer. However, Peter encounters more than just the two ogresses. During one night, he dreams of his beloved Lovelia, his heart filled with affection. Just as he tries to touch her in the dream, he abruptly awakens, only to discover a surprising sight, a mysterious elf standing right before him. Her name is Vegan, and just like the ogresses, she also wants to take Peter's seed. But Peter refuses her advances, which makes her angry. She attempts to force him to obtain his seed, but Peter's determination is so strong that he doesn't react physically, and he feels proud of himself for it. Filled with anger, Vegan unleashes an elven spell upon him, firmly believing that within a day, Peter will willingly offer his seeds to her. As Peter observes her departure, he remains indifferent, as nothing substantial has transpired thus far. As he prepares himself and gets dressed for work, he receives distressing news of Lovelia's encounter with a tentacled monster. The creature, using its tentacles, takes control of Lovelia and forcefully tears her clothes apart. With each relentless touch, her nerves and consciousness are relentlessly assaulted, rendering her defenseless and on the verge of succumbing to her overpowering desires. However, at the crucial moment, Peter arrives just in time to slay the monstrous creature and rescue Lovelia, ensuring her safety. To ease the weariness from their intense battle, they decide to visit a hot spring. Peter finds himself alone in the men's bath and perceives something out of the ordinary. His excitement surges, and he becomes consumed by an overwhelming desire. Just then, Vegan makes her entrance, exclaiming with triumph that it is due to the success of her spell. She asserts that the only means of avoiding harm is if the individual who originally cast the spell on him is the one to lift it. She demands that Peter kneel down and willingly surrender his seeds. Once more, he gives in to the temptation and spends the entire night engaging in actions. He can only reassure himself that his actions were driven by the hope for a future with Lovelia. They spend the night at the hotel, and although his body experiences the same level of satisfaction as Vegan's, but he only regrets his decision. In his scheme to sabotage Peter and Lovelia's relationship, Lovelia's father is plotting a plan. He sets up a blind date for Peter with a girl from the Orkland, asserting that it is merely for the purpose of preserving amicable relations with the Orkland and will not lead to any significant consequences. Despite being aware of her father's ulterior motives, Lovelia refrains from interfering, placing her unwavering trust in Peter. Unfortunately, she is unaware of what is going to happen next. Peter is fully aware that the true intention behind the arranged blind date is to entice him into betraying Lovelia. Filled with confidence, Peter assures himself that he would never develop feelings for an unattractive orc. However, his expectations are challenged when he meets Bnkrllll, the orc girl assigned for the blind date. Despite his firm belief, Bnkrll's stunning beauty and undeniable sexiness knock him off his high horse and leave him questioning his previous assumptions with a bewildered expression on his face. In their private moments together, Bnkrll consistently blushes and finds herself short of breath. It becomes apparent that this is her first time engaging in such close conversation with a man. Bnkrll's self-esteem takes a hit due to the negative opinions of other orcs who deem her unattractive and continuously keep her at a distance. In her eyes, she considers herself unworthy of Peter, perceiving him as a powerful and formidable figure. Overwhelmed by her emotions, Bnkrll bursts into tears and rushes away, only to be confronted by a group of lustful men who block her path. Peter, displaying great courage, defeats them, consoling Bnkrll with tender words, assuring her of her irresistible charm. He accompanies Bnkrll on a shopping spree, and together they explore the human world, forging a deep connection that captivates Bnkrll's heart, leading her to fall head over heels in love with him. Exploiting the situation, Lovelia's father seizes the chance to instruct Peter and Bnkrll to share a room overnight, citing the intention to demonstrate genuine sincerity. Peter, determined not to betray Lovelia, firmly rejects any advances from Bnkrll, causing her to believe that her appearance is so unattractive that Peter wants nothing to do with her. After receiving Peter's tender consolation, she expresses her gratitude with a passionate kiss. Peter fights a battle within himself, taking deep breaths as he strives to banish his impure thoughts and resist temptation. At the moment Bnkrll removes her clothing, Peter ultimately gives in to his temptation, and upon waking up, he again holds himself accountable for his lack of willpower. If Bnkrll exposes their affair, Peter and Lovelia's relationship will inevitably come to an end. He confides in Bnkrll that their blind date was arranged for political reasons. He advises Bnkrll to reflect upon the type of life she envisions for herself before reaching a definitive conclusion. Until then, it is crucial for them to keep their relationship hidden from others. Peter's lie is crystal clear. Against all odds, a miracle occurs as Bnkrll complies with Peter's request and keeps the events of the previous passionate night hidden. After careful consideration, Bnkrll resolves to acquire Peter's seeds not for the benefit of the orcs, but for her own personal gain. Her intention is to use his seeds to conceive the most formidable child, whom she will command to eradicate all the orcs who have mocked her. Peter comes to the realization that he might be responsible for bringing forth a dreadful creature. Upon his return home, Peter is confronted by an unexpected situation involving 4 girls, Vegan, Piggle, Lisa, and Mimi, each expressing a strong desire to have a child with him. Their intense rivalry for his affection quickly escalates into a fierce conflict. Piggle proves to be the most shrewd among them by proactively revealing her vulnerability in the presence of 3 dominant girls, successfully eliciting sympathy from Peter. Following that, Piggle reveals her seductive physique, insinuating that Vegan pales in comparison. Subsequently, they summon Agape, a fairy with the ability to evaluate male excitement, and employ diverse tactics to outshine one another in a battle of attraction. Peter grows frustrated with the girls' rivalry. Upon his neighbor's suggestion, Peter agrees to resolve the argument with alcohol. However, much to his surprise, the girls become even more wild and reckless after consuming the drinks. The irresistible charm of the girls' attractive antics overwhelms Agape's scoring system, pushing it beyond its limits. Peter, unable to resist any longer, unleashes his desire and, upon waking up, shamefully admits his fault once again. Despite being satisfied, girls believe it's wise to steer clear of additional disagreements. Ignoring Peter's objections, they strike a deal and establish a timetable for claiming ownership of Peter. From that point forward, Peter finds himself caught in a never-ending cycle of bed-breaking encounters with these girls. Afterwards, he keeps his promise and takes Lovelia on a date during his day off. They finally get to spend quality time together as a couple and have a joyful day. As dinner time arrives, the atmosphere is disrupted by Mimi's sudden appearance, who approaches Peter with the intention of requesting his seeds. Peter confronts Mimi, accusing her of betraying the pact they had made. However, Mimi defends herself by claiming that the day off provides the perfect opportunity to avoid the prying eyes of the others. The innocent and naive Lovelia, mistaking their discussion for work-related matters. He quickly takes Mimi to the restroom to satisfy her with his Excalibur. Contrary to his belief that it is over, it is actually the start of something new. Following Mimi's departure, both Vegan and Lisa appear consecutively, each finding joy in Peter for the same reasons, consequently reducing the time he has available to spend with Lovelia. Having achieved satisfaction, however, the date ultimately concludes in disappointment and failure. Peter's spirits are crushed as he arrives home, shedding tears while seeking comfort in the shower. Thankfully, Piggle becomes Peter's emotional support, providing him with a newfound sense of security. Little does he know, it's not until he hands over his seeds in the midst of Piggle's caring nature that he realizes he has been deceived. Out of the blue, the other girls show up and point fingers at Piggle for disregarding the pact. They shamelessly proceed to snatch Peter's seeds, taking turns one after another. Peter is left feeling despondent because nobody abides by the rules that he never even agreed upon. Eventually, he leaves his home, tears mixing with the rain as he wanders off in sorrow. An ogre warrior passes by and notices Peter crying. The ogre offers him a towel and tearfully, Peter confides in the ogre about his beloved girl, expressing his frustration at being unable to be with her. The ogre relates to Peter because he has been pursuing the ogre princess for years without success. The ogre encourages Peter to persist in his pursuit, believing that he will eventually be with his beloved. Peter is deeply moved when he learns that the ogre warrior likes a girl named Lisa. Filled with anxiety, he hurriedly returns home, consumed by doubts about Lisa's true identity. Lisa shamelessly declares that she's solely after Peter's seed and couldn't care less about holding him accountable for anything else. Once the clarification is made, she wastes no time in engaging in more up-close and personal interactions with Peter. In the meantime, the ogre warrior pays a visit to the Brave Swordsman's Guild in search of information about Lisa's whereabouts. The receptionist, who has a weakness for well-built individuals, succumbing to his charm, she spills the beans and reveals Lisa's address. It is clearly a catastrophic situation. When he lays eyes on Lisa, his desperation turns into anger as it turns out Lisa is enjoying a cozy nap with the very same guy he just went out of his way to assist. He wastes the entire room and unleashes a relentless assault on Peter. Unfortunately, his only weapon available is a banana he finds by the roadside. Despite being renowned as the strongest individual on Earth, this confrontation poses a formidable challenge for him. Fortunately, Lisa intervenes just in time, halting the ogre's rampage. The ogre initiates a conversation with Lisa, urging her to return and assume leadership over the ogres since they currently lack a leader. Lisa firmly rejects the ogre's request, convinced that no one in her homeland surpasses her strength, and playfully dismisses the worth of their seeds. She resolutely declares that she won't return to her homeland until she can conceive a child with the strongest man in the world. The ogre challenges Peter to a duel as a means to demonstrate his strength. Peter, realizing that intentionally losing to the ogre could be a way to remove Lisa from his life. However, Lisa sees right through his thoughts and delivers a smart threat. "Listen up, Peter. If you don't give this fight everything you've got, I'll spill the beans to Lovelia, who's keeping a close eye on this epic showdown, that your little secret harem of ladies who have been keeping you entertained every single night." In the end, Peter is compelled to overcome the formidable ogre warrior, who possesses immense strength. As the ogre warrior sinks into despair, the receptionist courageously reveals her feelings of love, becoming a beacon of hope in his gloom. Throwing in the towel on Lisa, the ogre warrior sets his sights on the receptionist, and as they start dating, he gradually recognizes her as the deserving recipient of his wholehearted love, causing him to abandon his pursuit of Lisa for good. Later, Peter is left feeling utterly crushed. However, Lisa smirks with satisfaction, delighting in the fact that Lovelia's father harbors a strong dislike for Peter, thus sealing his fate of never being able to be with Lovelia. Lisa firmly believes that Peter's true happiness lies solely in marrying her. Peter's doubts vanish when Lovelia appears, her adorable face erasing any hesitation. He is now certain that Lovelia is the only girl he desires. At the same time, Lovelia delivers the unfortunate news that goblins have attacked the human kingdom, prompting the brave Swordsmen's Guild to provide assistance to their fellow humans. Hand in hand, Peter and Lovelia firmly believe that their bond can conquer any obstacle they encounter. Meanwhile, Peter is completely unaware that 4 girls are trailing behind him. It appears that they are determined to obtain Peter's seeds and won't give up their pursuit of him.